Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, friends, readers, listeners, viewers, from wherever you may be tuning in, whichever part of the world. I'm your host, Garcia. This is fallenangels.tv, and I just want to thank you for joining us and for taking time out of your busy day to fellowship with us on this Sabbath, and as we come together and celebrate, worship, and honor the Father and the Son, and give thanks and for all the things that we're privileged and blessed to experience this day and this moment, even being able to share this prayer and to utter it in the way that I am, and being able to even speak these words into a microphone that then sends it all across the world, and to communicate with each of you in the, comforts of your own home. Myself being here near Athens, Georgia, and being able to access you and to reach you in such way is just, it's amazing. The technology and the capacity that we're all blessed to have in this day and age. And I know for certain that all of these things have come into being and are allowing us to fellowship in this way because we are the last generation. We are the fig tree generation, and the Spirit is being poured out on all flesh. In this, in these kind of forums, there's so many people that have decided to do this kind of work in this kind of way that, like myself, years ago, I just decided to start a radio program, a radio show, just to be able to share the things that I was learning myself, that I was being led to discernment on so many years ago, and having awoken in the way that I did, and so long ago. It was 2004 that I really began to broaden my horizons as far as coming to the truth of what is, and how the strange nature of reality is so different from what we all have been indoctrinated into, assimilated by the overseers and also the educators, those that basically teach us about the matrix and have us be part of that without ever second guessing or ever knowing different. And that includes really most everybody on the planet, even our parents, our grandparents, our loved ones, our children, our peers, those people that are the authorities in our lives, the government, politicians, the doctors and nurses and teachers, lawyers. Everybody is part of the system, and most have no idea and really have no clue as to how all of us have been duped and have been led astray from birth and assimilated and placed into really a prison planet type system which controls, governs, and manipulates all of those that are part of its system. And we really have no idea as to how it got to be this way, and for how long, how long it's been taught to people that life is about gathering of money and the accumulation of material things, and leaving an inheritance and a legacy for our children, and that the focus of our being is all about the carnal, the physical, and the visible aspects of world and worldly affairs and worldly being. And it's a difficult thing for any of us to awaken to those things. And once we do, it's mind-blowing to ponder upon, to wonder about, and to fathom the thought of how it all got to be like this, and how not very many people, how few really even understand what's going on. And it's difficult also to find others that can understand, in which you can communicate about things that are important and greater as far as linked to and connected to what our real purposes, role, and missions are for being here on this planet and having incarnated into our flesh bodies, and especially during this time, because we really are both blessed and cursed to be the last generation and to be those that will see the unfolding of all things leading up to the end of days. And it will be an incredible blessing to be witness to the second coming, to the return of Christ, and to the gathering of the elect and the righteous. And I pray that all of us are counted worthy to be part of those that are considered the wheat and considered the sheep. Because so many are lost and led astray and have no concern, have really no interest in the gospel, nor on really what's going on in the world. Most are totally okay with, doing the regular things of life, going to school, going to work, getting an education, doing whatever it is that, the 9 to 5 has most people locked into corporate slavery. Most are tied to their jobs, and they identify with their jobs and the things that they do, as far as whatever it is that they do to make money. Like when people meet each other, the first thing, really one of the first things they ask is, what do you do, and who are you, and what's your career? And from that, everybody gets a mindset, an understanding, and develops a picture of who each of these individuals are based on their jobs and the expectations that we associate to those jobs and those things that they do. And so this world is controlled and manipulated in such ways that most people think like that. And most people consider that you are your work, you are what you do. And that is mostly your entire identity. And then secondary are the things that we do as a hobby, the things that we spend our time doing as far as fulfilling our entertainment, the things that we do for relaxation and recreation. And so that also becomes an identifying force for how people think of others. And the real interesting thing about all of this is that most totally ignore, the spiritual aspect and the spiritual side of life. And most never even ponder upon the gospel in its fullness, the scriptures, even the regular canon, the 66 book canon. How many people really have even read that and really even know what that is about and what it says, and also that the Bible is prophetic in its nature, and that it contains prophecy that has been documented and written down and passed on by the apostles of old, the patriarchs, those people that were considered important in history. And all of these individuals lived immaculate and glorious lives, and also were led to cruel and unusual deaths just because they were carriers of wisdom. They were teachers of secrets. And they had understanding that set them apart from the rest of the world and the rest of the people that were, basically scurrying around, doing the normal things of the Matrix and living within the prison of the Matrix without even understanding how it all worked. And so anyways, today, let me check the chat room. And if you have any questions, of course, just put them into the chat room. I would be glad to answer them in whatever way I can. But today I wanted to touch upon a little bit about leaving your life as your example and truly dedicating yourself to seeking the kingdom and making that a priority for your life. Because there are so many in the world that talk a good talk, that speak just very eloquent words, and that they dress themselves in a way that presents a really good profile of who they are trying to be and who they are trying to impress upon others as to who they are, when most, not everybody, of course, because there are the elect and there are those that are righteous, that are truly, truly dedicated and committed to the Father and the Son and relationship with them and for following the commandments. But there are many that are wearing masks and that are putting up these fronts in order to, basically impress others. The Bible talks about this. Christ talks about this. He speaks about those that like to sit at the head of the table and that like to make loud and boisterous prayers just so that they can be heard by others, that like to wear the fine robes and clothes which projects success within the world. And there are many of those, and as well as I that there are many people, especially in America and the Western communities, the Western world, that try to live beyond their means, that that are even going into debt to try to live with the finer things of life. You know, they have the nice cars and the nice homes and the really beautiful clothes and all the fancy toys and all the things which make others think that they are successful within the world, wherein a lot of them, in truth, can't afford that lifestyle, can't afford all those things, but yet they have them, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, and they're trying to project that image that everything's okay and they're doing fine in life, and you know, they are living the American dream. The 2 cars, the cat and the dog, and the two kids, and all of that. You know, being able to take a vacation once a year, which a lot of people also, you know, that vacation once a year, they will do everything they can to just have that 1 week of respite, that 1 week of having a sabbatical, a break from the normal routine of life. And a lot of people will also go into debt just to make that happen, because it seems that is the only break that they have all year from the daily grind, the soft parade, the continual and ongoing commitment to their jobs and to their lifestyles and to the ritual, the habit of just simple living and trying to make it, survive from day to day. And, you know, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing, because, of course, all of us are linked to and committed to trying to survive within the world and the matrix, because, you know, that's what dominates most of our lives. And all of us, whether we know about it and whether we have awakened to the discernment and the revelation that allows us to see it, to be an outside observer while also being immersed and entrenched within the workings of it. We're all enveloped by the matrix and the way that it influences and dictates, guides, and directs all of our lives. Because all of us have to, you know, unless you are living on a farm and you're completely self-sufficient and you learn to unlock yourself from the workings of it. And that's, you know, a very few, and God bless all of those that have managed to create lives to where you are free from it. I would certainly myself love to be in a situation where I could live like that and manage like that. But the truth is, you know, specifically in my case, having a disability and being reliant on others for my independence um, it makes me have to have a foot in both worlds. And that's where most of us are. Most of us are, and I'm going to get to your question here in just a minute, Robin, but most of us are in a situation where we do have to deal with, survival, making money, feeding ourselves and our families, raising our children, committed to a job, the security of it, and doing this over and over in routine weekly. And there's nothing negative about that unless you are so committed to that you never seek to fulfill what you're really here for. And in my opinion, that is a commitment to our spiritual side of self, that aspect of us that Christ referred to when he said, "Know thyself." And that aspect of us that when we read the Word, when we look into the secrets of the gospel, when we are led to have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the mind to understand, that the secrets present themselves to us and that they resonate with that deeper part of ourselves that is connected to the Creator and the Son, that Christ consciousness within us that connects to the Holy Spirit and to the things that feed and that resonate with that part of ourselves. And so let me look at what Roman has said here. What do you recommend a person do to help maintain that spiritual connection? Morning prayers, meditation, or a calm patience or reserved demeanor one might carry with them throughout their day? Or do you have other suggestions? Really good question there, Robin. And this is what I've come to learn. Certainly, morning prayers, evening prayers, pray over your meals, over the things that you put into your body, even, your liquid, your water, whatever it is you're drinking. For those that even smoke tobacco, bless everything that you put into your body. You could even pray over your vitamins and your pills, the different herbs that you use to help you. I myself try to maintain a state of prayer to where I'm always in communication with the Father and the Son, and I'm always humble before them. Like, I can't get on my knees because I have my disability, but I like to be in a state of being where I find myself on my knees before the Father and the Son, humble and grateful and just thankful for every moment, everything, all the things that come across me during the course of my day, all the things that I'm blessed to be able to do, even taking a shower. Taking a shower and being in the warmth of the water and having it flow over my body and relax my muscles and bring such just beautiful and joyous comfort. Because really, how many people in the world, we're so blessed to be even able to take a shower anytime that we want, to just turn a knob and have the water heated in such a way that it, because showers are just, or baths, any space, a lot of people have garden tubs or hot tubs. There's something about water, something about the way that it feels on your skin, especially when it's warm and hot on a cold winter's day, or even very cold and refreshing on a hot summer's day or spring day. There's something about that, and we're so blessed to be, to able to take showers or enjoy hot tubs or garden baths, whatever it is that you do. Those times are also prayerful, and we should. I always, when I'm in the shower and I'm just in that state of just well-being, the way that the warmth of the water makes me feel, I pray then. I always give thanks for everything, for all things and all chances and all opportunities, because as I've stated before, we are not promised any tomorrows or even any future moments, that death could come upon us at any time, that we're all mortal, and being mortal, we should honor the opportunities that we are blessed to have, and to be part of existence, to be witness to the grand unfolding of creation on a daily basis, the way that it all works, the way that the sun travels across the sky and creates night and day. One of my most favorite things is the way that the sunshine and the wind feels upon my skin, and the way that a refreshing breeze, especially now that it's fall. Here in Georgia, we have we're able to experience every season, the way that the year transitions from spring to summer to fall to winter, and the way that the creation, the grasses and the trees and all the flowers, the way that they bloom in the spring and spread their pollen. And I know a lot of people have asthma and allergies, and I'm grateful that I'm not one of those. All that doesn't affect me negatively, and I'm so very grateful for that as well. But I like to just be witness to the way that the creation unfolds on a daily basis. I like to watch the sun cross the sky and to feel the rays upon my skin. I like to watch the clouds spread and dance across the skies, and I like to, sunsets and sunrises are some of my most favorite times. I think that those are the most incredible motion picture that you could ever be witness to, especially if it's a full moon, and to watch the sun set upon the horizon, and the way that The sun setting or the sunrise, the way that it interacts with the clouds and the dissipation of light, and the way that everything turns pastel in color and then disappears from bright oranges, yellows, pinks, blues and grays, and the way all that, in those few moments, because sunsets really are fast once it reaches the horizon, especially on water, and the way that the rays dance upon the waves. To me, those are some of the most glorious things to be witness to, and how many people really even take the time to do that, to just simply watch a sunset or a sunrise in their day. Personally, I would love to live somewhere in a situation where I could watch the sunrise and the sunset on water every day. To me, that would be just the most incredible dream. And hopefully someday, one day, maybe, I'll be able to live in a situation where I could witness that on a daily basis. But anyways, to me, being humble and grateful and thankful for every moment of our existence, that is like living prayer. And when you reach that state of being to where everything is sacred to you and every moment is precious and everything is a blessing, life becomes different. For those that have almost, that have incurred have been in an accident, have survived a tragedy, have had loved ones taken away, it brings us to moments of reflection to where we think about our mortality, and we think about things that we haven't done, things that we should, take the time to do, because we may not ever have that chance. Like myself, early in my life, I took the time to travel across the United States. I spent 4 years in a van, just going from park to park. I've been to most of the national parks in this country, and I've been witness to sunsets in every part of the United States. I've seen some of the most incredible and beautiful things. I've been experienced to so many things. In one of my poems, I'm going to actually look it up and share it with you, but in one of my poems I talk about the experience of all the things that I have seen and been witness to. My second book is called When the Evening Dies, and it covers a lot of my travels as I've been all across the world and seen so many things, and I've written so many poems about those experiences. And I'm so grateful that I did that early in my life, because that kind of thing is not possible to me anymore. And so do what you can with the time that you have, because you just never know when you'll not be able to. And I know it's difficult out there now to even be able to do those things because it's so tough. Life in this world is so difficult. It's a struggle just to survive. We're not the way that the economy and most people are struggling just to feed themselves and their families day to day. And so I know how hard it is to do those things. But, another thing that I've learned about being out there in the world and traveling everywhere and being witness to all the things that I was witness to is that there is beauty everywhere. And everywhere you go, you can see the beauty of life, and you can be experienced to the glamour of just another unfolding moment and being part of the giant family and seeing how the creation works and how the harmony is presented to us in a day-to-day, in a moment-to-moment, because the Creator has established all these things for us. And if we just took a moment to smell the roses, so to speak, we could understand that that really everywhere is beautiful. Everywhere is beautiful, and all things, wherever you may be, you can find the joy in life and be grateful for that and have, because my life in the way that I am is so different from what other people live. Most people are too busy to witness, to even look at the creation, and they don't care about its unfolding and how things are. They're more interested in what's coming on TV and, staying up with their favorite shows. A lot of children in this day and age, it's more important to play video games and to spend your time watching The Simpsons on TV. Most people have no recognition as to the beauty that is involved in the unfolding of every day. I'm looking for this poem because I'd like to share it with you. If I can find it, let me. Well, anyway, let me check the chat room again. I can't find it, so. Let's see, something that Robin said. She said, "You're right, Ben. When one can get to that peaceful, quiet mind place, things are so much more wonderful. I remember floating with the Spirit when I felt captured in a blessed state. If you do what Zen is describing, you will, but it's like I said, you might have to plaster post-it note all over yourself as a reminder to approach everything with sweet respect, care, and love. Yes, that's what it's about. Because also, this is another aspect of our being and of living your life as your example. Because when you can reach that peaceful state, that state of joy, that state of respect and honor and just gratefulness and thankfulness, that resonates into the world. People can see by how you are as to where you are in your life and how you are in your relationship with the Father and the Son. Because really, it's not what you say, because anybody can say anything. And, like as I said earlier in the show, most people put up all these fronts and they're wearing all these different masks. And you'll even see that they'll shift masks, that they got a different mask for different occasions. And depending on who they're with and whether they're at work or whether they're at play or whether they're with certain family members or other people, like sometimes when your boss comes around, a lot of people put up different fronts. Or if you're around important people or people that you respect, or if you're, with your friends and you're in a party mode, or when you're with your lover, if you're in a sexual encounter, people have different masks for different occasions, and they wear those according to who is around them or the situations that they might be experiencing, the circumstances that they find themselves in. And so you can learn to read people by how they are, and you can see the shift. For those of you that have learned to kind of step away from the matrix to be good observers, like the way that predators are. Because predators have a state of mind to where they are completely aware of all the things that are going on in the moment. And you find, especially in the kids of this day and age, that a lot of them are walking around like zombies. And, they're into their iPads or they're into their phones or, they're completely oblivious as to all the things that are going on around them. They have their headsets on, they're listening to their music, or and this happens to people. People are walking and texting, and there was a video of this woman who, at a mall, she walked right into a fountain and fell into the water because she was so into, her gadget. And that's the way a lot of kids are now, especially now that, phones and these little bitty gadgets have so much power, access, and capacity that they can do all these different things. And, they have access to the internet wherever they are. They can play games at all times. They're oblivious to the creation. They have no idea as to the beauty that surrounds them, and how much of a blessing the creation is, as far as, all things were created for us. The Father and the Son, they made all things for the benefit of humanity and created everything with that in mind. And for us to have part in the creation, to exist with all things, it's such a huge blessing. And most people have no idea. Even though they maybe, are witness to it, and they get into their cars and they drive to their work and they go to their jobs where they find themselves behind the walls. They may have some windows that they can look out and see what's going on. But, for the most part, most of us in our days are separated from the creation by windows, walls, things like that, which disconnect us from the grand unfolding that is occurring on a daily basis. And I call this the soft parade. The soft parade is the slow unfolding of the creation and the way that it all works in harmony. And that harmony is so grandiose, so awesome, and so just beautiful in the way that it works and is tied together. The way that, night and day, and then every day is like, from the vernal equinox, when there's exactly 12 hours a day and 12 hours of night, and there's perfect equilibrium. And every day as the sun rises towards the summer solstice, we gain 4 minutes more of sunshine every day until the sun reaches its apex, its climax, and then it reverses. And then from the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year, we begin to lose 4 minutes more of sunshine every day until we reach the autumnal equinox, where again we reach that point where there's exactly 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night. And from that day and that moment, we begin to move into where there's more darkness. And we move into what is the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year. And then after that, and that usually occurs around December 21st. And then after that, we begin to gain sunshine again, 4 minutes more of sunshine every day, until again we reach the vernal equinox. And then, we move again towards the summer solstice. But the way that the creation all works, the way that the earth is tilted to perfect, that perfect wobble. I forget exactly what that's called, but anyways, the way that the earth is tilted creates all of the different seasons for the entire planet, for the whole globe. And that in itself is incredible. And to ponder, to wonder about, and to fathom how the Creator did all these things for all of us, and to be able to witness the way that the the moon influences the tides, and the way that the eclipses occur, the solar and the lunar eclipses, and how all that interacts yearly. The way that we reach certain parts of the celestial heavens to where we have the meteor showers, and the way all that plays out in the heavens. All these things are occurring every day, and there are wonders that occur in the heavens all the time. But because we live in big cities and we have light, so much light, and in the way that the afterglow affects the visibility of what's going on in the heavens, we're disconnected from that as well. And we don't see, what others in rural communities, in places where there's darkness, where there's not the afterglow, the overglow of all of the city light dissipating the visibility of the stars. I really envy people that live in places like that, where they can look into the sky and see so much more of what people that live around big cities can see and be witness to. I used to love to during the Perseid meteor shower, I used to try to catch this every year during this time. I would go out late in after midnight, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and just sleep out under the stars and just watch the many all the meteor showers, and the way that the shooting stars interact with the edge of the atmosphere of the planet, and the way anything that would enter into our atmosphere, how it would streak. And there would be many stars. I mean, you would see 60 shooting stars in a minute, just for hours. Just it was beautiful. And that, is better than any show on TV, any movie that you can watch in a movie theater, being witness to that. And so I would encourage those of you that haven't taken the time, haven't looked into the way that the creation unfolds and works, because we're so really privileged to be part of all this. And another thing about being witness to some of these things and seeing how nature works, one of my other favorite places to go was a place called Tallulah Gorge in northeastern Georgia. It was one of the deepest gorges in the southeastern United States of America. And in the gorge, there was this one river that had created all of these different waterfalls. And we would hike down into the gorge and spend many days, sometimes even up to a week. But a lot of times, just on the weekends, we would go from Friday to, Sunday evening. But anyways, down in the gorge, this river created all these different waterfalls, and you could hike down and check out all of these different waterfalls. But there was one that was one of my particular favorites. It had this giant rock that was in front of the waterfall at the edge of the pool, and you could also climb up to this one ledge where you could jump into the water, and the waterfall had created a deep gouge into the bottom, from the water falling into and carving out a deep cut into the bottom of the what was this pool, and the cascade of the water also created this really refreshing mist. But we would spend the evening close to those waterfalls, and I remember laying out on this rock, which during the course of the day the sun would heat it up to where it got really, really hot, really not so hot that it would burn you, but it got really hot, and then over the course of the evening it retained this heat, and so when you laid on it, it was like a warm blanket, and it was so smooth from having been part of the flow of the water that created that deep gorge, and it was like, it reminded me of like a giant altar, and it was in, you could feel the mist coming off of the waterfall. But one of the most incredible things about being able to be down there in the gorge was, I used to like to go during the full moon, because when the full moon finally rose above the canyon walls to where you could see it in what was the, really high up in the skies, because the gorge was really deep and it had these high canyon walls on both sides that elevated to, they were like, giant skyscrapers on both sides of the canyon, but it created like a giant cathedral. It was like a Roman Colosseum in its aspect, the way that the waterfall was rounded and the canyon, the gorge was deeply cut like that. It was like a giant cathedral. But when the full moon finally rose above the canyon walls, it would light everything in this silver glow, and all the light of the moon would dance upon the waves, and it would refract within the mist. But another thing that was so incredible was that during the summer months, you would have all of these fireflies come out into, and you would see them everywhere, and they would flicker and light. It looked like a bunch of fairies, just a bunch of fairies dancing in the midst of the waterfalls, and being witness to things like that. It's just incredible, and you can't. And it's humbling also, to be in front of a giant waterfall like that, or like when I was witness to the giant sequoias, the big redwood trees in California, seeing how they grew and how some of them were 4,000 years old, and they were so large and had such massive root systems that nothing else grew around them. They kind of took over, wherever it was that they grew. They dwarfed everything in their giant magnificence. And that's another thing. If you ever have a chance to go and see the redwoods, there's a place called the Valley of Giants in Northern California. I used to spend my summers in Humboldt County in Northern California in what was called the Emerald Triangle. And there are a number of different national and state parks which have just these beautiful groves of these massive trees. And this is also where, Bohemian Grove, where they do the child sacrifice and the cremation of care ceremonies. The elites of the world gather on the summer solstice on the longest day of the year to perform these rituals and to be involved in all the abominable things that they do yearly over there, the rituals that they're involved in that many of us have heard about, and also the sodomy, the different things that go on there. But anyways, there are public parks that are open to, just visitors wandering through. And I know that even when I lived there so long ago, there was a lot of logging still going on, which just blows my mind how people could cut down these incredible trees. They're so beautiful to look at and to be witness to, but how they could allow logging of those giant sequoias, it was just beyond me. And there was a group that a lot of my friends were involved in. It was what was it called? Oh, I can't remember. But anyways, they used to go up into the trees and, lock themselves to them. They would live in the trees for weeks and months at a time to prevent the loggers from being able to cut them down. And I always admired and respected those people for, I think it was called the Rainforest Action Network or the Redwood Action Network, something like that. But anyways, they were really hardcore activists that they loved the planet and they put themselves on the line. Some of them even lost their lives. I mean, the corporations and those people that were making money off of decimating these trees and of logging all these elder groves, they went to really nasty lengths to ensure that, they could continue on in their profiteering. And some people did lose their lives. But different things that I saw while I was out there, the way that Yellowstone, I went through Yellowstone, and I also saw the Grand Tetons, which are the newest mountains in the world. And they're incredible chain of mountains that go from the valley floor to 14,000 feet in elevation. And I remember the first time that I saw them, I felt like I was Cinderella just in a fairy tale, and being witness to the incredible nature, the magnitude, the beauty of those trees. And so I would recommend to people, if you can, to try to see some of these things. And I learned over the course of all of my travel, over going from here to there, that really beauty is everywhere, and that you can find that nature is beautiful wherever you are. That just being out in the sunshine, the feel of the breeze upon your skin, wherever you are, whether you're in the woods and in southeastern or the eastern part of the country, or you're in the middle part where it's really flat, and then when you get to the western side of Texas, the mountains all begin. And the Grand Canyon is not just in Arizona. That really the Grand Canyon runs from Alaska all the way down to South America. It's just named different things for different parts of the mountain chain. But really the mountains run all the way from Alaska down to South America. And that they begin on the western side of the country where Texas is, and going up, in the northern parts of the state. And I had traveled across many of the different interstates that went all the way from west to east coast. And I saw, the transition, the slow transition, the different landscapes, Monumental Valley, Angel Falls, Zion, Bryce National Park, all these different parts of the United States. The United States is one of the most incredible and beautiful lands and places to ever be able to see. Another thing that was intriguing, and I know I'm getting a little bit off of the topic here, but another thing that is really incredible to be witness to is the Anasazi ruins, the different cities that were carved into the sides of these giant canyon walls. There's many of them. And then there's also all these different places that have many petroglyphs, this ancient writing that has that was written all over in different parts of the different states in the Southwest. They're really incredible to be witness to, because a lot of them show how the ancient pre-Adamic humans were witness to the fallen angels and to their technologies and to aspects of the Nakash race, that these things are written onto the walls of different canyons. There's a place called Newspaper Rock, I believe it's in Arizona, that it's like a library of petroglyphs. It's got thousands of them, all in one area. There's so many incredible things to see in this country and the world. And it amazes me how locked in people are to the matrix, to where what's important to them is, as I said, just, keeping up with their shows on TV. That spending 90% of their time watching the TV or computers, that's what dominates people's lives. And most never even take the time to look at the creation. And so I would encourage you and those of you that can to really enjoy what's going on in the world and to take the time to smell the roses, so to speak. Because another thing that I find and another thing that I've learned is that the Most High, the Father and the Son, they utilize the creation to speak and communicate with you. And that the Spirit could take on any form, and that it comes through the creation, and that's the way that a lot of us can commune with the Most High. A lot of the Native Americans, they go out into nature, into a beautiful place, whether it's on a high ledge to where they can watch the sun. They'll fast for 4 days. They'll purify themselves in a sweat lodge, and then they'll go on what's called a vision quest. And they'll spend, 4 days. It doesn't have to be. 1 or 2, 5, a week, whatever it is. They'll spend this time out in nature, communing with nature, and seeking contact, seeking a vision, and also seeking to experience the divine. And a lot of times, those that are pure of heart, that have made the kingdom their priority, that are seeking truth in a way that most people in the world aren't, the Father and the Son are more than willing to come to us and to communicate with us and to have dialogue with us and to share experience with us. And not just, that kind of thing can happen in so many different ways. And the Creator absolutely uses the creation to sometimes show us His control, His omnipotence, His power, and how He is all things. And so, you know how it says in the Word that you never know when you're entertaining angels? You don't know how the Spirit will come to you. And so that's why another thing about having a predator's mind and being aware of all things that unfold around you and looking at the creation with an intensity that you are seeing and witness to what is really there. Because most people, they walk through their day and they don't even see what is right before them. And so I think, as Robin had asked earlier about communing and seeking an experience of the divine, that really meditation and prayer, it's not something we do. It's something that we are. It's something that we become. That, a lot of people, they go to church, they'll spend their Sundays in a building and they worship and they have fellowship with other people, and then once they leave the building, it's like they turn off, that state of mind, and they go back to their worldly affairs and of just being in the world. And really, church is not about a building. It's not about just a group of people or a preacher or a minister or a certain pastor. But church, in my opinion, and how I've come to know it, church is a state of being. Meditation and prayer, they're all a way of being, of becoming a light, a lighthouse, a beacon, a candle that is put on, as it talks about in the Word. The flame that breaks the darkness and makes lights the way home. That's what we're to be, and that really our lives are our prayers and our example and our witness and our legacy for who we truly are. And that a lot of people will say a lot of things, but your children and those that look to you, your peers, your loved ones, they know you by how you are. And they will follow you according to your example. Just as Christ, he said a lot of things, and he gave us parables and gave us his testimony by how he was. And it was because of the things he said and how he was, and that he backed that up with his actions, that the apostles wrote down the things that he did, the miracles that he accomplished, and how he and the Father were one. And because of that, and because of the way that he was, and because the apostles knew that he was special, that he was God incarnate, and that his life as his example needed to be documented, needed to be shared, and that how he was could be a guide and a directive for us in our battle with the powers and the principalities of this world, in our struggle to overcome flesh and find our way home. That he was the example overcoming death and showing to us that He and the Father are the arbiters of life and death. The way that He waited 4 days for Lazarus. He died and he was buried. He was entombed. He was placed in the tomb, and his sister told Christ that he would even be rotting and stinking because of the decay of death and the destruction of his flesh. But how Christ opened the doors of the tomb, called him out, and brought his spirit back to his flesh. He is the arbiter of life and death. He is the way of the truth and the life. And his example is example for us on how we should be. And he is the way home. He's the way to return to our first state. And that's what this life is about. That's what the struggle is about. So, I just want to encourage all of you to live your life as prayer and carry yourself as if you're in church all moments of being. And be grateful, be thankful, and give worship and prayer to the Father and the Son for everything, whether it's great or small, for every glass of water that you drink, for every meal that you partake of, for all the things that you put in your body, for all the things that we're privileged to be witness to always be in communication with the Father and the Son and grateful for whatever is. Because we are so blessed and so privileged to have part in this creation, to be witness to all the things that we see and that we feel, that we smell and sense, that everything is beautiful, that God is beautiful, that life is the fulfillment of love, and that He shows and shares His love with us through the creation. And that if we would just take a moment, oh my goodness, we're at the end of the show. If we would just take a moment to see and feel that we can experience that love through the creation. Anyways, I pray for all of you that you come to discern in all these things. I'll see you next Saturday. God bless all. Good night.